Hi there smart monks and welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. This is my little platform where I turn struggling math students into maths masters. I post videos weekly, so subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification button if you want to know when I post any new videos. Guys, in this video I'm going to be teaching you how to factorize trinomials, especially the advanced trinomials where there is a coefficient in front of the variable that's squared. The way I've set it out is I've added some nice, easy to follow steps that you can just sort of work your way through, and hopefully by the end of this video you will then feel confident about factorizing trinomials. In the description below you will find two things. One, you will find a worksheet that you can actually practice this work with a memorandum attached, and then you will also find a link to my other platform where you can watch more videos, because only 20% of my videos are actually on YouTube. So if you want to see more of my videos, then you can follow the link in the description. If neither of these are in the description just yet, please bear with me. I am in the process of working on the platform and I want to make sure that it's of great quality. So I'll only add it once it's actually ready. And yeah, hopefully that will be soon. So without further ado, and that was a long enough intro, let's jump into the video. Alright, so this is your lesson on factorizing trinomials, and this falls under algebra. And remember, in algebra there's two major parts. One is simplifying, where they ask you to find the answer, and then the second one is factorizing, where they're asking you to essentially take the answer, the simplified form, and put it in its brackets. So we are dealing with the second one, okay? And this is a tricky section, and I want you to go through it slowly and rewind and go back to things if you don't get it the first time, because this is one of those things where it's the process of learning. It can be a bit difficult, but once you've got it, then it becomes very easy. And you'll see that I've laid it out in this lesson so that in step-by-step form, so that it's easy for you to just ask yourself, okay, now I must do this, okay, now I must do that. Okay, so let's go into showing you how this is done. So the first type of trinomials I'm going to teach you how to factorize is trinomials that you've dealt with in grade 9, where the number in front of the x squared, or the variable that has a power of 2, the number in front of it is a 1. Okay, and then in the second example, in the second slide is the grade 10 version, where the number in front is greater than 1. Okay, so if you are confident in this, then you can just forward and skip straight through to the ones where the coefficient of x squared is greater than 1. Okay, so how do we deal with factorizing questions like this? Firstly, the important thing is we write down the factors of the constant. So in this case, we're going to write down the factors of 6. So I write down the factors of 6, and that is 6, 1, and 3, and 2. Right? Then the second step is select the factors and signs that would equal the middle term. So we essentially are looking for 7, right? That's what we need to get with the factors of 6. So if I look at these factors, I see that with 3 and 2, if I can only add and subtract, I can't get 7. But with 6 and 1, I can, if I add them together, right? So essentially, if I add positive 6 with positive 1, I get positive 7, which is my middle term. So this here is essentially what would be the values in your brackets. So you'll open your brackets. With step 3, it says complete the brackets and check. So you'll open the brackets where the first terms will always be the variable, and then the second terms in the bracket will be the 2 that you've calculated here. So this is plus 6, so that goes in that bracket, and plus 1, and it goes in that bracket. The order of this doesn't matter. If you have 1 first and then 6, or you put 1 here and then 6, it doesn't matter. Okay, so essentially x squared plus 7x plus 6 factorized gives me 2 brackets where I've got x plus 6 and x plus 1. So if I were to multiply this out again, then I should get that answer. Okay, so remember, when we're factorizing, we leave our answers in brackets. All the pluses and the minuses must be inside brackets. That's when you know that you've actually completed your factorizing. Okay. So let's look at the second one. So again here, and the reason I've chosen these three is that you'll see that it's easy to get confused when the last numbers are all the same. But let me show you what I mean. Okay, so if we look at the second example, the factors again, step 1 says write down the factors of 6. Now guys, this is just for these questions. Obviously, when I say the factors, you must find the factors of the last term, which is the constant, right? So I've got 6, and again, I write down the factors of 6, which is 6, 1 and 3, 2. But in this case, the question wants me to get negative 5. So I know that I can either go minus 6 plus 1, or I can go minus 3 minus 2. Both of these will give me negative 5. However, and this is where it's important for you to check. Let's say we go with the second option, minus 3 minus 2 gives us minus 5, right? So I put these in my bracket, so my x's are again at the start, and then this I put in the first bracket, and this I put in the second bracket. Now, what we're doing here is we have to actually check our answers, right? Because if you had said minus 6 plus 1, you'd have also got a negative 5. But how do we check our answers now? So we have to check this by saying negative 3 times negative 2 must give me the last term. And then this 2 and these 2 must give me the middle term. Okay, so rewind that if you didn't get it. So these two, the last two, negative 3 times negative 2 gives me positive 6. That's perfect. If I go this is negative 2x, and I subtract negative 3x, gives me negative 5. That's how I know that this solution is correct. That's why I say complete the brackets and check. If we were to check in the first example, we will go, okay, 1 multiplied by 6 gives me the positive 6, so that's correct. And then I've got 1x plus 6x gives me 7x. Okay, so let's look at this example now. Now we've got negative 6 and we've got negative 5x. Again, we write down the factors of 6 and we want to get negative 5. Okay, so here we're going to choose the negative 6 and the positive 1. And I'll show you why. Now guys, if you choose the wrong one, that's fine, because when you do the check, you'll see that you did the wrong one, and then you can choose the other option. Okay, so in this case, we've got x minus 6 and x plus 1. And how do we check now? So we go negative 6 times positive 1 gives me negative 6, right? And then 1x minus 6x gives me negative 5x. And that would mean that I would get the correct answer. Okay, so that is essentially how you would check your answers, and that is how you would actually do the simple trinomials where there is no variable, is no coefficient in front of the x squared. Now let's look at advanced trinomials. So here, there's a lot of steps that has to happen here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work through them slowly, but I'm going to do quite a few so you can see what I'm doing over and over. Okay, when we're dealing with advanced trinomials now, step number 1 is let me just clarify. An advanced trinomial means that there's a number in front of the x squared that you need to factorize. Okay, so again, a trinomial that you need to factorize will have one variable to the power of 2, one variable to the power of 1, and then no variable. Okay, sometimes they can give you x to the power of 4 and then x to the power of 2 with no constant. It would just affect the powers, but we're not going to worry about this in this video. I just want to explain to you so that you know how to do these advanced trinomials. Okay, so the first step is write down the factors of 3 and 5. So now, different to the previous version that I showed you, we are going to write down the factors of 3 and of the constant. So the number in front of x and of the constant. So we first start off, what are the factors of 3? Which is 3 and 1 and 1 and 3. And here again also you have to write them. You first write the factor and then you have to swap them around. Don't worry, you'll understand why in a second. This is not what we do with the normal trinomials. Then we write down the factors of 5. So that's 5, 1 and 1 and 5 because we're duplicating them. Now the trick here is we want to cross-check and write down the answers again, because the aim is to get the middle term. So what do I mean by cross-check? So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply top numbers with bottom numbers to ensure that it gives us the middle term. So we want to take a top number multiplied by a bottom number here, which will give me 3, and then this bottom multiplied by that gives me 5. So 3 and 5, I'll ask, can it give me 2? And the answer there will be no. Okay, so this is how you'll have to check the top numbers with the bottom numbers to see if those two answers can actually give you the middle term. So this is what I mean. Let me show you. So in this case, if I took 1 multiplied by 5, so it has to be a top number multiplied by a bottom number, right? Of the two different factors. So if I take 1 multiplied by 5, that answer is 5. Then of the same pair, I say 3 multiplied by 1, and that answer is 3. And I look, can the answers of these give me the middle term? And in this case, it can. So this part is the part that is going to take trial and error, where you'll need to check top numbers with bottom numbers throughout all of the options. Okay, so this will then give me 5 and 3. And I know that 5 and 3 can give me 2, right? So next one is to choose the correct signs. Okay, so now if I look, I need 5 and 3, but I need to get -2. So that means that -5 will be negative and positive, and the 3 will be positive of these answers to get me the -2. Okay, so I know that the 5 needs to be negative and the 3 needs to be positive. Okay, and I'll explain to you why that matters in a second. So let's go now to step number 4, where we actually have to complete our brackets. So we've done all the thinking here. We've figured out what are the values that's going to get us the middle term. And now we go and we actually complete our 2 brackets. So in the first part of the brackets will have your variable, and the second part will have your constant. Okay, so if I look at this version, at this question here, I will then add the pair that I actually use to do this calculation as the first values in each bracket with x. So I've got 1x and I've got 3x. Now bear with me here, guys. I know this is a lot. And then I'll say, okay, then in the second one, it is 1 and 5, right? And so you will then fill in as follows. So the 1 is related to, so the 1 is paired with a 5. So if the 1 is here, then the 5 has to be last. And if the 3 is here, because these two are seen as a couple, let's say we call them these a couple, and then these two are a couple. Okay, so the 1 is matched with the 5, so the 1 and the 5 go together there, and then the 3 is matched with the 1, and these two go together here, right? And now we have to add the signs. Okay, so if we look at that, so remember I told you these two are couples and these two are couples. Now we actually have to include the signs. So if you look, if these are a couple, 1x and 5, so this 1 and this 5 gives me the 5 here, which means that this needs to be negative. And then this 1 and 3 gives me this 3, which will mean it has to be positive. So the first bracket needs to have a positive and the second bracket needs to have a negative. Okay. And then this factorized is then equal to x plus 1 and 3x minus 5. Okay, so let that sink in. There's a lot that is happening here. What I do suggest is you can take a question that you maybe have in your textbook or that you got from your teacher, and then as I go through these, you do it with another question and then see if you can actually factorize it using the steps that I have, because it will be easier for you to first do it and learn it by actually following the steps that I have in this, but even using a different question. Okay, so then the last step is to check your answers. Okay, so the way you'll check, you always say the last terms multiplied by each other must give me that. So I've got 3 multiplied by -5 gives me -5, so that's correct. And then -5 plus 3 gives me -2, and that means that this is correct. Okay, so let's try another example. Okay, so again, we start off by writing down the factors of 2 and 9 in this question. So 2 is 2, 1 and 1, 2, so we double them up. The next one is 9, 9, 1, 1, 9, but then we also have the factors of 3 and 3. Now, it's not necessary if the numbers are the same that you need to write them twice, okay, because it's going to be the same thing. So, now what we do is we cross-check to see which top number multiplied by which bottom number, and in the pairs would actually, the answers would give us the middle term. So in this question, it would be the 2 multiplied by the 3, which gives me the 6, and then the 1 multiplied by the 3, which gives me the 3, and these two together can give me the 3 over there. Okay, so that means I can use this pair, these two pairs, the 2 and the 1 and the 3 and the 3. Right? Now we actually choose the correct signs. So I need to get positive 3. So that means 6 needs to be positive and 3 needs to be negative to give me the positive 3. Right. Now I move to the brackets. Okay? And I add the values. So what do I add? I look at the first pair that I use, which is the 2 and the 1. And that goes at the start of each bracket. Right? So 1 with 1 over here and then the 2 over there. Okay, it doesn't matter what you put first as long as you pair them and couple them with the correct value. So here we go, 2 was matched with 3. So 3 will be here. And then 1 was matched with 3 there. So the 3 will be there. Okay, so we will have 3 and 3 at the end of each bracket. Now we actually have to choose the signs. Right, so again, these two is the 3x and these two is the 6x. So if I look at this, what needed to be positive? The 6 needed to be positive and the 3 needed to be negative. So there's a positive here because these two give me the 6 and these two give me the negative 3. That way, my final answer is then x plus 3 and 2x minus 3. Okay. So if you haven't got it yet, you'll see I'm repeating the steps over and over. I'm going to do 2 more examples and then I'll give you 4 questions to actually try on your own. Okay. Again, we must check our answers before. So if we check these answers, positive 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. So that's correct. Negative 3x plus 6x gives me positive 3x and I know my answer is correct. Now let's do 2 more. Okie dokes. So I get a question. This is a trinomial. And how do I know it's a trinomial? Because this variable is double the variable that's in the middle. The power, of the variable is double the power in the middle term. And then we've got a constant at the end. So the steps go as follows. I write down the factors of 3 and I double it up. I write the factors of 4, right? And I cross-check the top numbers with the bottom and the bottom numbers with the tops in the different pairs to see if I can get negative 8. And in this question, it would be 3 times 2, which will give me the 6, and the 1 times 2, which will give me the 2. And then I can get 6. And then I can get negative 8. And how do I get negative 8 by choosing the signs? I go negative 6 minus 2 gives me minus 8. Okay, so I know both of these need to be negative. Fine. Now I go and I add my pairs. So I use this pair when multiplying. So that is the first values that go in my bracket. And then these ones are the second one. And obviously I check that the couples are grouped together. So the 3 and the 2 is the 6. And these two gives me 2x, right? So remember, we are aiming for negative 8. So in this case, we've seen that the 6 needs to be negative and the 2 needs to be negative. So both of these are negative. So that means my final answer is 3x minus 2 and x minus 2. So let's look at the last example. Okay, again, we start by saying what are the factors of 5 and then what are the factors of 12. And here we have a lot more factors. So that means there's a lot more checking top numbers with bottom numbers and seeing if the answers can give us the middle term. But in this question, 1 and 4 gives me 4, and then 5 and 3 gives me 15. And together, this will give me 19. Remember, you have to always, if you choose the 5 and the 3, then you must choose the numbers that correspond with them. So the top number and the bottom number here has to be multiplied. You can't take the top number and the bottom number of one pair and then the top number and the bottom number of another pair. It has to be of the same pairs, okay? Now I write down, okay, what do the signs need to be? In order to get 19, both 4 and 15 need to be positive. So I go, what is the first values in the bracket? So I've got 5x and 1x, and then I've got 4 and 3. But now I must remember that the 5 was multiplied with the 3, and the 1 was with the 4. So the 5 and the 3, so the 3 needs to go there, okay, and the 5 needs to go there. Sorry, the 3 and the 4. So let's just go again. This 5, I multiplied by that 3, and so these two are coupled, right? So that gives me 15, and then this 1 and this 4 goes together, right? And so this is 15 and this is 4, and we saw that both of them need to be positive. So then when we add them together, it gives us 19. So our final answer is 5x plus 4 and x plus 3. Okay, so here, oh sorry, I said there I have 4 questions. I actually have 6. Remember, more practice, the better. So I suggest do pause the video here, try these 6 questions, try and factorize them and see if you can get the correct answers, and then unpause and I'll show you what the correct answers was, and you can actually mark to see if you're on track. I would advise that when you are working through this, go to the previous examples that I've done where I do the steps, and as the video goes, do the steps with the video so that you can actually follow what it is that I'm doing. Even if it's just for the first 3, and then maybe the last 3, you can see if you can do it without my steps so that you can actually memorize them. Okay. All right, so hopefully you paused the video and you are now looking at your answers. So let's see how well you did. So the first one, it was x plus 7 and x minus 2 were the factors. Then for B, it was 2x plus 1 and x plus 5. For C, the answers are 2x plus 1 and x plus 2. Now, if you have the brackets swapped around, so in other words, for C, you had x plus 2 first and 2x plus 1 second, that's perfectly fine. Then by D, we've got 3x minus 7 and 2x plus 7. E, we've got x minus 5 and 4x plus 5. F, the answer was x minus 4 and 4x minus 1. And then the last one was 2x plus 3 and 3x minus 2. Okay, so hopefully you feel confident about this. Again, this is a tricky section, so don't be discouraged if you don't get it right the first time. With these questions, the more you practice, I promise you, the easier it will get. Okay, so that concludes our lesson on factorizing trinomials. Alright, so there's that video on factorizing trinomials. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, you can add it in the comment section below. And then you can also add any recommendations for future videos in the description, in the comment section as well. And again, if you want to practice some more, have a look at the link in the description below. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I will see you in the next video. Alright, bye guys.